Goodwood Racecourse, what a glorious place to be, what a glorious place to ride winners. It's a very unique, very challenging track, and it can be very difficult as a jockey sometimes. We're going to try and give you a little tour around and an insight into what it's like to ride this famous racetrack. And no better man than a man beside me to help me do that, Mr. George Baker. George, you were very successful around here. How did you approach riding this course?
Well, I think it's so important to be tactically aware at all times around here. Obviously, there's lots of nuances, and you've got to be on your A game all the time. And jockeyship is massively at a premium. And I feel that, well, as you know, Martin, yourself, when you step back into the weighing room, you see a lot of demoralised and people that are frustrated when things haven't gone smoothly, especially in those big runner handicaps. Jockeyship's at a premium.
It's a very unique track. It's very challenging at times. Let's start at the 2,400 metre marker. So George, we're at the 1.5 mile start, or a 2,400 metre start. You can see the stands in the background. This is actually the lowest point of the track, isn't it? And obviously we start uphill. It's normally the Gordon Stakes from here. How important is it to get a good break and a good position from here?
From this point, it's a long climb, isn't it, to the top of the hill when you sort of start to turn for home, and it sort of evens off and the ground falls away from you. So it's a very important time. I always felt if you are slowly away, in my opinion, I would always just leave it and go, I'm going to have to accept it and ride my race from there.
And if we move forward, it's actually quite an interesting track, Goodwood. I mean, there's 4 starts from this one position. We've got, as we said, the 1.5 mile, mile 3. And just from the bend here, this is the 1.25 miles, or the 2,000 metre, which is normally the NASA Stakes, which is, and a 1 mile as well. So, and again, as you can see, that goes uphill. So it's very similar to the 1.5 mile start.
Yeah, so you've got 2 starting points for those 4 trips, as you say. And the difference is when you use the top and lower bend, it's a furlong less to use the lower bend than the top bend. So you've got to be on the ball, make sure you know where you're going, and the cones are in the right place when you do the cut across.
That's true, yeah. You need to be sharp, don't you, to ride around Goodwood. I've always found when you come here for the start of any of these races, this is like a real pressure cooker moment. You're trying to keep your horse relaxed, and there's a lot of pressure, and all the jockeys go quiet, and everybody's thinking of their race plan and what they want to do. Be honest, have you ever taken the opportunity from one of these starts and annihilated your opposition and taken them out of the race?
Well, the camera angles aren't as solid as they are in other parts of the track here, so you can definitely fabricate a better position and wipe someone out if they're getting in your way.
That's a good word, fabricate. But yeah, there's never any prisoners taken from these starts. It's a really important start to the races. So George, from the longer distance races, the Goodwood Cup and the 1.5 mile start, we're now into the back straight of Goodwood. At this point, it's probably best to explain as we run up the hill. You've got the 2 bends you can see for the first time, one going right and one going to the top. So the 2,400 metre start, we'd go to the trees and go around the top bend, and the 1.3 mile start, we normally cross over that way, don't we?
Yeah, for sure. And you probably wouldn't race as tight to the outside rail, if that makes sense, because you're racing around the shorter loop as such, and you just maintain your racing line, moving up. So you just want to keep things nice and smooth and go the shortest distance.
But anyway, listen, we're at the mile start here for the biggest race, the Sussex Stakes, over a mile. Well, tell us, you've ridden in the Sussex Stakes a few times before, so obviously we line up here for the mile start, and this would be the view we'd have. So if you're in the stalls now, riding in one of the biggest Group 1 races of the season, what are you thinking as a jockey?
So my first thought would be where you're drawn. So if you're drawn on the inside, you want to hold your position, because as we've seen a lot, if horses out wide will kick up there, go forward, and you can end up getting shuffled back and get a poor position quite easily. So I'd always, if I was drawn well, I'd really jump into stride well, go and get my position, and then if I want to take back, I can do. And as you can see, it's fairly level, and then you go a furlong, and you get to the 7 furlong start, and it really climbs up. So this is an important time to get your position early doors.
What about the handicaps? Come on.
Well, you find out who your mates are in those situations, don't you, when you're drawn badly and you're trying to get in, no love lost. And I think it's very important on this track to have a sort of idea what you're trying to achieve. You know, if you're on a horse that needs to take a lead, when you're going into that top bend, you want to be saving ground, you don't want to be too wide going around it, but then you need to position yourself to get into a good position to challenge. As we've seen, if they go a good gallop here and the horse in front of you are stopping, it's very hard to get a run up the inside. So position at the start, especially over the mile, is so important.
So much can go wrong between here, the bend and the winning post. Let's walk down to probably the most crucial part of the course, and it's that crossing where a few jockeys have gone wrong in the past and tried to go the wrong way.
It's very important to know where you're going, and jockeyship's at a premium on this track, at this point of the track. You have to remember you've still got a good way to run. 6 furlongs on the lower bend, 7 furlongs on the top bend. It's a long way from home.
People don't realise watching, but when you're making a run-in, things are going through your head like, how can I get them beat behind me?
Yeah.
So you're not just out there making a run-in and waiting until it's time to go. You're actually trying to control the pace and slow it down. And I've always thought the best feeling in the world when you're in front is if you're getting it your own way. If you hear the jockeys behind you shouting and swearing, that's when you know you've got them in trouble. And they're out of the rhythm, aren't they? They're out of the comfort zone.
Yeah, well, again, I'm going to blow my own trumpet. I won the Celebration Mile here on Premier Loco,
Pick that one up.
Picked that up, and it was a masterful ride from the front, and there was no pace on paper, and I just dictated it in even fractions and built it up nice and gradually. I got headed, but again, if you use your horse at the right time here, you'll always finish off well, and I nailed it that day, even if I do say so myself.
If somebody said, can you sit down with a blank piece of paper and design a race course that is going to confuse jockeys and be difficult to ride, this would be here, wouldn't it? I mean, it's like no other track in the world. I mean, we stopped here at this point, and we actually haven't even spoken yet about the races that start that way and go that way and all the way around again. So we got the mile 6 start here, which is normally the Lily Langtree, and then further down we got the Gold Cup start itself, which is 2 miles, and we actually have to go downhill past here and loop all the way back around where we've just been. It's such a crazy race course, isn't it? George, we're on the sprint track. This is where it gets fast and furious. Obviously, if we look down the start there, that's the 1200 metre start, which is the biggest betting race of the week, the Stewards Cup, maximum field, 20 odd runners, cavalry charge. Why so much emphasis on the draw? I never know where I'm supposed to be drawn and what I always find you better being drawn near the best horses to take you into the race. What do you feel? I
agree, Martin. I think it's very fair normally with the ground across the track. They do a wonderful job here to maintain a sound surface across. There's the odd time when the ground's softer, there's a specific part of the track that's better to be. But I always agree with you in the fact that where the race develops from a speed perspective is where you want to be. You want to be drawn into it. We've seen speed horses, it really suits them here, so you want to be where that's developing.
So George, the 1000 metre start, it's quite a specialist trip this, isn't it, at Goodwood? It's probably one of the fastest in the country, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I completely agree, Martin. As you can see, as you look down the track, the ground falls away from you. There's a slight camber from the inside rail to the stands rail, and speed horses here, it's a massive advantage. And I've never really worked out why that is. Obviously, it's an easy 5, but I think you need speed, and then you can organise them and sit against them. If you're off the bridle and hunting along, it's very hard to keep them in a good rhythm.
If we're talking about 1000 metres at Goodwood, then we've got to talk about Batash. In recent years, he's probably been one of the best horses here over this distance, where at other tracks he's probably come unstuck a little bit. Why is he so suited to this 5, do you think?
It's an easy 5 furlongs, Martin, and when you're dealing with Ascot 5 to here, they're completely different, chalk and cheese as such. Whereas the ground falls away, it really suits him. You don't have to be so worried about conserving his energy at the right time. You can sort of let him use his stride and get on with things. Whereas if it was a stiff track, you're always mindful that he's not really seeing out as strongly as he would do at a track like Goodwood.
George, 2 to go, or 400 metres up to the winning post. This is a stage of the race where you've got to be making your decisions, haven't you? Whether you're going to ride for luck and stay on the inside, or try and edge out to the outside and get a clear run, haven't you?
Yeah, I think from the 3 furlong marker to the 2, you need to be aware of what's going on around you and trying to work out, if you're coming from behind, where you're going to negate your best passage going forward. And for me, you want to be aware, if they've gone really hard, it's very unlikely that you're going to get a run up the inside because horses are going to be falling back through the field. So I'd always give myself options. I think it's a key point. And then at the 2 pole, you've got to sort of commit and stick with what your plan is. And if you're going up the inside, the brave man's route, you need to be prepared that you may get stopped in your run.
So you'd be thinking at the 3 pole, your bottle job, I'd wait till the 2 at least. I always think at the 2, that's when you need to start. If I remember Mohatta last year in the Sussex Stakes, Jim Crowley got to a position where he was full of running and nowhere to go, and I think it was here where he decided, right, I've got to come out now. I think he ended up going backwards.
And coming out.
And sacrificing ground as they quickened, and then at least he got out and got a clear run. That was a decisive move, wasn't it, last year?
It was, but I tell you what you need in those situations, Martin, and that's why Goodwood really suits those speed horses. When you switch out, you need a turn of foot to get you out of trouble, and I don't believe many milers at that sort of level had his sort of setup to do that. He's a very quick individual, and he was seen to very good effect on a track where you need that turn of foot to get you out of trouble. You know, if you can stop something, he's very light-footed. quick on his feet, and he had gears to get you out of trouble when you needed it.
So do you reckon this course is better ridden with patience than not?
Well, but I do believe I'm massively advocate of feeling that you can make the run in here. If you get it right and don't get challenged too soon, you're dictated to a lot of the time by who's following you up. So I think you just got to trust your fractions and use your horse at the right time. And on this track, you need a little bit of luck and running.
Well, here we are, George, at the winning post, one of the most famous winning lines in the country, where everyone wants to be in front. George, have you got any advice for people at home that might be want to watch and have a bet, and what they should be looking for? What kind of horse you need to win at Goodwood?
Well, obviously, I think if you're betting on the sprint track, you want to look and see where the draw's being advantageous, where the pace horses are set up, and also one thing for me through this week of the Qatar Goodwood Festival is to have a jockey who is really effective on this track, and there's a few that stand out for me.
Well, there you go. I hope that's been informative, and Goodwood Festival is just around the corner. Cannot wait. Oh my God, what have you done? I told you not to put it up. Why did you put it up? You moon man. Oh my God, yeah, I'll just put it down. Let's see if we can.
Let's see if we can take it back together.
We'll have to see. He's going to go mental with you. Hey, look, it's Frisbee. We've managed to break the winning post at Goodwood. Oh, Jesus. Should we just say nothing?
No, I'm going to tell Ed.
Just say the win.
I'm a grown up now. So are you, Martin.
So you take responsibility.